Welcome to TEPSA Talk, the podcast where leaders inspire, share, and grow together. TEPSA is dedicated to celebrating the incredible work happening in education. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations with leaders, change-makers, and innovators who are shaping the future of our schools. Whether you're looking for fresh ideas, encouragement, or a little spark to fuel your passion, TEPSA Talk is here for you. Imagine tuning in to hear how leaders are revolutionizing their schools, tackling challenges head-on, and fostering a culture of collaboration. Grab a coffee, hit play, and let's grow together. Welcome to TEPSA Talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TEPSA Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Nesloney, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are thrilled each week to bring you different thought leaders from around the world, and we have another Texan with us this week, and that is Miss LaToya Patterson. LaToya, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
Well, I'm so proud to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Todd. My name is LaToya Patterson. I am the proud principal of Hirsch Elementary in Spring ISD, and I have been the principal here for 4 years. And so it's been a lot of learning and a lot of growing, but super excited because TEPSA has kind of supported me along this journey. TEPSA, I was a part of TEPSA before I was even an administrator. And so every step of the way, TEPSA's kind of been there to help guide me and to nurture me and grow me. And so we are the Mighty Hawks, and I'm super proud to be here.
Love that. We are the Mighty Hawks, my favorite part. So LaToya, when we have these conversations with different people, I am always so interested in people's journeys to where they are today. And so obviously you are working in the classroom, and I've learned that there's two paths people take. Either one is feeling that urge, like, ooh, I might want to try out these leadership roles, while the other is like, I was kind of told that I needed to try this out, so that's why I put my foot in there. How did you get to administration to where you are today?
Well, I've had some really great leaders that have been in my corner and who have always pushed me, and they've always seen something special in me. One of the quotes that I always kind of use with my students is by Steve Jobs, and it says, like, you cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. And I think that kind of sums up my journey because when I look back, I can see how all of the dots kind of align. I was like, okay, so I had to go through that so I could get to this next dot. And then that dot taught me this, and that allowed me to get to the next dot. And then when you look back, it's like connect the dots. You can see this really pretty picture that has kind of been my leadership journey. And so hats off to administrators who pour into their teachers, who find someone who has something special to give or something to offer and then nurtures that. And I can truly say that the administrators that I've been blessed to work with from the time I was a baby teacher all the way even till now as a principal, that they've been able to do that for me. And so I try to do that for the teachers that are coming up behind me.
That's what I love when people share that kind of journey, because I think it makes you, like you just said, the kind of leader who now you're like, I know what that did for me. So like, I want to make sure I'm doing that for my people. I'm growing them and giving them leadership opportunity and encouraging them and everything like that. I love that. Well, LaToya, obviously, being in any kind of leadership role and trying to have a life is hard, because balancing all that is tricky for everyone. No one's perfect. We all have our good days and bad days. So I'd love to know, in what feels like crazy land every day, how do you maintain sanity?
Well, I think it's important to be grounded into what you really value. And so family is a really big one for me. And so I have 3 kids. I have 2 that are off in college, one that's a sophomore in high school. And so they are my foundation. I have my wonderful husband, who has always supported me no matter what. And so making time for them and truly not just saying family first, but making sure that I am putting my family first is something that I've struggled with in the past. So I'm not always 100% with that. But then making sure that it kind of goes back to your big rocks. And so what are your big rocks? And if you don't put those big rocks in there first and you put all those pebbles in there, then the jar fills up and the big rocks don't fit. And so making sure that saying, hey, if family is important, then I'm putting that in there. If taking care of my health is important, I'm putting that in there too. And then putting the pebbles in the jar that fill up the rock, right? That fill up the little jar. So I think that it's important to have a good perspective on number one, what your priorities are, and then making room for those first, and then calendaring things out so that you can get all of the things that are crazy done as well. And so that's kind of what I do.
Okay, I gotta say, you got the connect and the dot stuff. You got the pebbles and the rocks and I mean, you've got all these great analogies. I'm just like, I'm gonna write that one down. I really like that one too. But I love something that you just said there is you got to calendar it out. And I love that you said that because that for me was such a game changer when I really
Mm.
started putting things on my calendar and it really helped organize me. And I was like, where has this been? Like, why wasn't I doing this long ago? So is that really just that's how you try to stay organized is by just putting everything on the calendar?
Yes. And so this year, and has one of my really big things that I want to focus on, it started last year, but especially this year, is being that instructional leader. So often you get pulled in 100 different directions. And so you are putting out fires over here. You're trying to help this person over here. You got a kid in the nurse's office. Like today, we had to call the ambulance for a student, right, who's having a medical emergency. So there's all of these issues that are always going. But if you're not super intentional about being in classrooms, being visible, and being that instructional leader, that kind of gets pushed to the side and you're doing all this other stuff. And so you really do have to use your calendar. And so before the week starts, then it's like, okay, I know I need to get into these 10 classrooms this week, right? These are the teachers that I really need to focus on. Sitting down with my leadership team. These are this is our staff. These are the areas when we look at our data that we know we need some more support in. So I'm going to do these. You're going to do this stuff over here. But we have to put it on the calendar. Otherwise, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. And then
Yeah.
something else that's really helped me is I know that everyone wants to say, have an open door policy. And so I did that. I did that for many, many years. And that kind of resulted in me helping everybody else get their job done. And then at 4 o'clock, everyone else goes home. And then I'm here until 7 or 8 o'clock. And that just did not work if I'm saying that my family has to come first. So if I'm intentional about being in classrooms, intentional about being in the hallway, then that's on my calendar and I get that done. And so then when I'm in my office, I actually have time to work on the things that no one else in the building can do. But you got to have that balance. So you got to calendar it.
I love that. And I love, I think that whole open door policy has been so misconstrued in our world in leadership because I think, having people schedule time with you does not
Mhm.
mean you're not available. It just
Right.
means you're making it work for everybody involved in that conversation. And I love to always think about it like a doctor's office. Like we don't get the privilege of just calling up our doctor and saying, "Hey, I'm here. Come
I'm
see me.
dropping
Like
in.
I'm ready to talk to you." Exactly. It's like, well, they have other things to do too. And it's not that they don't want to talk to you. It's that let's make a time that works for all of us so that I can be fully invested in you in this moment. So I love that you said that. It's not about not having an open door policy. It's about changing your perspective over what that means to give everybody the best version of you. But I know something also, LaToya, that you are really passionate about, and I love this so much as that is creating a school that your own children would be dying to be in. And talk to us a little bit like what does that even look like in kind of working to create that space that teachers can't wait to be into, the students can't wait to be in, all that.
Well, when I got here, one of the things we looked at is our student survey. And so the first year that I was here, it was a lot of just kind of see what's going on, see the lay of the land, right? But then once you start kind of talking to students, getting into the data, one of the things that they were saying is that they didn't feel as though they had an adult that they could talk to, or they didn't feel like kids were always kind, or that they had a friend, right? And so then that's very heartbreaking. Like I said, I have 3 kids. All of my kids went to elementary school with me. That was lots of fun. But how can we be more intentional about creating these spaces where kids are like, I want to go to school. I do have friends. I do have other adults in my life that I can lean on and I can depend on. And so for us, one of the things that we did was implement the house system, which is so much fun, based off of Ron Clark Academy's, his whole house system, kind of like Harry Potter. So we did do that, and that's been a game changer for us. We did a lot of talking with our kids, our families, our teachers, so all of our stakeholders about what it is that we want kids to be able to leave elementary school with. What are those core values? And so we did like a revamp of our core values, getting input from everybody. And so we're the Hawks, and so we soar, right? And so S is for self-discipline, the O is for optimism, the A is for altruism, and the R is for respect. And so we built our houses around those core values, gave them fun names using different languages that mean those core values. And then we organize everybody into houses. And so it's been really great. I have some great teachers who are leaders on this campus who have kind of bought into it. We have House Fridays. We have house competitions. We recognize our houses. We do house meetings once a quarter. And so that's been really fun. And then just looking for different organizations that can kind of partner with us. So this year we partnered with the Compost Foundation, and they gifted us a smart lab. So it has 3D printer. It has a full curriculum around STEM. And so that's been really, really great because our kids need those experiences, right? We're preparing them for jobs and careers that don't even exist. I mean, when you were little, did you know what an influencer was? Like, that wasn't a thing. Just talked to a friend, and, she was here for a conference with a bunch of people known as futurists. And I was like, what's a futurist? And she was like, they get paid these big bucks to imagine, where the economy is going, or where fashion is
Wow.
going, and what's going to happen in 10 years or 15 years down the road. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these are things I've never thought of. But these are the things that will be available for our kids when they graduate high school and they graduate from college. And so I want kids to come to school and be excited about learning. And so we have to create those spaces and be intentional about it. And the same thing for our teachers. We want our teachers to love coming to work. We want them to love inspiring kids. And so you can't have that by accident. You have to make that happen.
That intentionality is so important, but there were two things that I got to bring up. So first of all, I love houses. Oh my goodness. And I love that you're doing houses and all the things that you shared. I was like, yes, all of that is so much fun for the adults and the kids. So I love that. But you said something at the beginning that I want to bring up again. You said when we looked at student surveys, okay, I got to say, that's not a normal thing for a lot of schools to do, is to actually survey the students you're serving. Like, we're really good about surveying parents or community members or the teacher surveys. But those kid ones, especially, and some people may think, oh, well, but I do pre-K, kinder, first grade. It's like, no, like those things and the things that you just shared were so age appropriate too. Like, I wish I had a friend, or I don't have anybody that I could trust, that I feel trust that I could talk to, or those kind of things. That's really important for a school to know when trying to create a space where we can actually learn. Can you talk just a little bit more about those student surveys?
Yes. And so the student surveys that I'm referring to did come from our district. And so they do them every year. And one of the things that really stood out to me about the survey is that the teachers and what they thought they were giving and what the kids were getting were not aligned, right? So if you asked our teachers, which we did, then they're saying, yes, our kids feel seen, they feel heard, they feel like they have friends. And then our kids were saying, nah, actually we don't. And so then that was really eye-opening. And then having that conversation with our staff saying, hey, this is what we said as staff members, as adults. This is what our kids say. Why do we think that this is misaligned? Why do we think that our kids aren't feeling this? If this is our intention and this is how we feel like we're showing up, how come our kids aren't receiving that? And so that was a kind of hard conversation for our teachers to kind of work through. But it was necessary. And so I love looking at the surveys. I love hearing what our kids have to say. On any random day, I might come back to my office and there's a note, right? And a kid has written a letter about, what they think is fair or what they think is not fair. So
Yep.
recently we had a student very upset. The whole class missed recess because like a couple of kids were talking and he's like, bruh, that is not fair. Miss Patterson, you have got to do something about this. So they know that they have a voice and they know that I hear them. And so calling that kid down to the office like, hey, I got your note, like that meant a lot to that kid. He was like, you really read my letter. I really did. And I'm going to talk to the teachers about this, right? So student voice certainly matters. And I get a lot of that from you. So thank you.
You don't understand how much this just warms. I hope that people listening today just feel how good it feels to hear you share these things. Like, these are such powerful things that what I love about what you're sharing is these are easy things to do. They may make us a little bit uncomfortable as we get some of that feedback, but even as you shared, sometimes what we think is happening isn't really what's happening, and we don't know that unless we ask people. So I love that you shared that so much. Well, LaToya, as we come to the end of this conversation, there's always the same way that I love to wrap these up, and that is there's going to be people who may have heard or connected with different things that you shared today, but if they just walk away with one thing from you, what is the one thing you hope they walk away with from today?
Make sure that your leadership is intentional. Whatever you want that leadership to look like, you have to be intentional in making it happen. If you don't have a plan for it, it's just a wish, it's just a hope, right? And so for whatever goal you have for your campus, just make sure you're intentional.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, LaToya, for being a guest on our podcast today. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Remember, you can check out all the past episodes on your favorite podcast network, and make sure you go and rate and leave a review. Those always help our podcast reach even more. And most importantly, make sure you've registered for the TEPSA Summer Conference coming in June. We cannot wait to see all of you there. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.